yes, California, the land of dreams. The land, Golden State, they call it. The Golden State, Hollywood, where you too can come out here and be a movie star. Yep. Give up everything you own to move to California. Yep, and the politicians are so great out here. They really work hard. We got some really good politicians looking out for the people. Like Nancy Pelisi, Senator of California. Another communist, liberal, democratic scumbag. Nancy Pelisi. That's what I call her. Then you got this loudmouth communist, terrorist, Democrat, Maxine Waters, who does absolutely nothing. And then you've got this communist, liberal, democratic skank, Kamala Harris, who also does absolutely nothing. And then you've got Gavin Newsum, another democratic, communist, Marxist, socialist, terrorist, dipshit, Gavin Newsum. So come on out to California, the land of high taxes, high unemployment, tons and tons of illegal aliens, criminals, MS-13 gang members, terrorists, child molesters. I mean, it's a beautiful state. I don't know what else you could ask for. Let me give you some aerial views of some prime property that you could be living in. Because this is how you're going to live when you come to California, because that's what California's about. Living the American dream. Let's have a look.
Skid Row is clearly the epicenter of downtown LA's homeless crisis. While it's one thing to see pictures and some people have walked through it, it's another thing entirely to fly over it and realize that it encompasses a 62-block area just to the east of Little Tokyo. We're coming up on 6th Street and Crocker Street, which is mostly commercial businesses and industrial warehouses. While some blocks have tents neatly lined up on the sidewalk, other corners just like this have trash overflowing into the street, and today you can see the Department of Sanitation is in the process of cleaning some of this mess up. But when you look at the amount of trash that they have to deal with, you can imagine that they are inundated on a daily basis with 311 calls. Just a few blocks over on Town Avenue and 6th Street, you could see this entire sidewalk lined with tents with very little room for anybody to walk on the sidewalk, and a pretty heavy LAPD presence patrolling these streets as well. As the construction boom continues here in downtown Los Angeles, we're taking a look at some of the newer luxury apartments along 3rd Street and San Pedro Street, only about a third of a mile away from some of the hardest hit parts of Skid Row, which is home to about 8,000 homeless residents here in downtown Los Angeles. As we continue down 6th Street towards the corner of South Central Avenue, you can see that same scene playing over and over again, tent after tent surrounding this entire block. With little resources at his disposal, here's a man doing his laundry out of a bucket. The homeless crisis is visible at each and every turn here in this part of downtown LA. This is another scene that's playing out over and over again in this part of Skid Row along Crocker Street. You can see the Department of Sanitation cleaning up tons and tons of personal belongings, even entire pieces of furniture, as the LAPD keeps the residents from interfering. Here at 5th Street and Crocker, you can see tents on both sides of the street, but as the sun shifts throughout the day, we're noticing a lot of the people who live on one side of the street spend a bulk of their day laying on the sidewalk opposite their own tents just to seek shade from the sun. Over the Port of LA, the despair and presence of homelessness really knows no boundaries. As we fly over the post office here in downtown San Pedro, you can see that all four sides of the building seem to have attracted a large concentration of homeless residents, tent after tent of families and pets even. In between the industry and oil refineries here in the South Bay are so many side streets where people have found places to park their vehicles and live in full time. Here's a look at Drum Avenue, where the campers are parked one after another, lining this entire block. The interesting thing about so many of these RVs and campers is that many of them aren't even drivable. As we travel up the LA River from Long Beach, we find overpasses just like this near the 710 and the 405 freeway. Underneath Wardlow Road, you can see an entire encampment set up under this overpass with makeshift walls and space for these residents to collect their belongings and carry out their daily chores like laundry. We're just north of the 405. That's Los Cerritos Elementary School near the left-hand part of your screen, just about a third of a mile away from a homeless encampment underneath the 710 freeway. We're up over Bixby Knolls, right along Long Beach Boulevard, next to the Virginia Country Club golf course, where just on the other side of the wall is a set of train tracks dotted with homeless tents. The largest concentration of homeless people living inside their vehicles is right here in Willowbrook. You can see well over a dozen RVs and campers lining this block alone. Residents in this neighborhood right next to the 105 and the 110 freeway interchange literally have a homeless encampment in their own backyard.
No, seriously, y'all gotta come out to California. It's a great place to raise your kids and your family. You don't know what you're missing. California's the hot spot to be to raise your family and kids. Here, let's listen to some testimonials. You see for yourself.
Homeless man is in custody accused of trying to rape a mother in front of her toddler in San Bernardino. Police say Gabriel Emanuel removed 2 bedroom window screens to get into a home around 8 o'clock yesterday morning. Officers say the victim and her 3-year-old daughter were inside, but they were able to fight off Emanuel and scream for help. He got away, but was later arrested.
They released a sketch of the suspect wanted for breaking into a home in Santa Ana and groping a 15-year-old girl. Police say the suspect crawled into a bed with the victim yesterday and assaulted her. She screamed, and the suspect, believed to be a transient and smelled of alcohol, ran away. Police say this case is not related to a rape near railroad tracks 2 blocks away, as was initially thought. Today, police arrested 18-year-old Alexis Dominguez, an acquaintance of the victim.
Police say what they know now is very limited because this teenager is so traumatized and badly injured. She's getting the medical attention she needs now. These tracks you see behind me are where police say the attack may have happened. We saw a Santa Ana police dog sniffing the area for evidence not long ago. Officers say the 17-year-old was walking home from school this morning. She goes to Century High School, just a short walk away, when 2 men appearing to be transients and Hispanic took her to the railroad tracks where officers say she was sexually assaulted. First responders called out here by the victim's brother just after 11 this morning. Police say there are a lot of problems in the area because of the large transient population hanging out here.
It's private property. We do have a transient problem with the railroad tracks, which we're addressing.
Just last night, a few blocks from here on North Lincoln Avenue, officers say they were called to a home where a man also described as Hispanic and appearing to be transient snuck into a 15-year-old's bedroom, laid next to her and groped her while she slept. She woke up screaming, and that's when police say the suspect ran off. Now, police are not confirming that these 2 cases are related, but they are warning the suspects in both cases are still outstanding.
In Santa Ana have booked a 38-year-old woman in what could only be described as an alleged but bizarre kidnap attempt. The woman was originally taken into custody yesterday and accused of impersonating a social worker. A young mother told police that the woman knocked on her door and said she had to take her baby. When the young mom refused and asked for papers or an ID, she says the woman told her she was calling the sheriff's department. The suspected kidnapper then began walking away, but not before the scared mom and her sisters were able to grab this cell phone video of the woman. After it was shown on TV, the woman turned herself in.
Now you tell me, don't California look like the place you want to live and raise your kids and family with all these illegals and mentally retarded nut jobs out there, not to mention your communist, Marxist, socialist, democratic terrorists?
In a Santa Ana courtroom just before two men were found guilty in the murder of a 9-year-old girl playing outside her home. One of the defendants attacked the other before being restrained. Ricardo Cruz and Alfredo Aquino were both convicted in the 2014 shooting of Jimena Meza. Prosecutors say they were trying to shoot members of a rival gang. Both men are facing 40 years to life in prison when they're sentenced in August.
Orange County, a male nanny is facing charges of molesting 2 young boys under his care and possessing child pornography. His bail is set at $1 million. Eyewitness News Orange County reporter Jessica DeNova spoke to police who fear there may be more victims.
This Costa Mesa man portrays himself as the perfect child caretaker on his website, MatthewTheNanny.com. But police say Matthew Antonio Zakshevsky created a nightmare for an 8-year-old Laguna Beach boy and his family.
We were alerted to a possible child molestation incident that occurred. We found out through our investigation that there was another similar case out of Los Angeles involving the same suspect.
That case involving a 7-year-old. The 30-year-old suspect pleading not guilty last Tuesday in an Orange County court to charges of child molestation. One count is of oral copulation of a child. Laguna Beach police say the suspect was arrested at a local airport after he flew in from Spain. Detectives say a video on Zakshevsky's phone and evidence collected at his home enough for the charge of possession of child pornography.
There was video of himself with a child who has not been identified yet.
Online, the suspect boasts about more than 6 years of professional experience with certifications, including one from Trustline, a California background check for in-home childcare. Among his services, travel and overnight care. Zakshevsky's bio reads, "I think the reason I connect easily with kids is because I am not just there to supervise, I participate." Dozens of photos show this Manny with children. Detectives fear there are more possible victims.
From what I could see on the client list, there's at least 40 plus families that we're going to be reaching out to.
Zakshevsky is scheduled to appear in court at the end of May.
To take a good look at this mugshot, Jesus Alamia Caballero of Santa Ana is being held on $1 million bail in a child molestation case. Investigators say he is a dance instructor. Caballero is accused of molesting a 14-year-old student after driving him home from dance lessons. Police are asking for your help in identifying any other potential victims.
At a San Clemente apartment building are being evicted to make way for a facility to house the homeless. The apartment complex was sold and then leased to a nonprofit that helps the homeless. As Eyewitness News Orange County reporter Jessica DeNova tells us, residents aren't happy about having to pick up and leave a place that they've called home for years.
New neighbors coming to the San Clemente community means so long for those living in this apartment complex.
I'm not against what they're trying to do, but I feel that they didn't come up with a game plan to help us out. It's like, hey, we're taking over. Have a nice life.
Jonathan Moreno and other Vista del Mar tenants got a letter at the end of April announcing the new owners of this 17-unit property will lease it to Friendship Shelter. Executive Director Don Price says the nonprofit will permanently house homeless men and women in these units, making it the third property of its kind for Friendship Shelter in South OC.
This property was for sale. Someone was going to buy it and likely displace these residents. We're trying to do that relocation as thoughtfully and generously as we can.
Price says this means cash to help with moving expenses and rent in a new home. These signs are out in front of homes along this street. Some people in this community worry about what a homeless shelter means for their neighborhood. Marcela Mendoza's concerns the behavioral and criminal backgrounds of those who may move in next door to where she's raising her 2 daughters.
For me, that just brings in people who aren't I guess, mindful of their neighbors, mindful of their communities. They're going to bring in issues with them, baggage.
Price says the county has a vetting process for those getting vouchers to live here.
We all know people who live in our families, in our neighborhoods, within our communities who struggle with a mental health challenge or with a substance use challenge. The difference will be that the clients in our program will have supportive services on site.
Moreno, who has lived in this family-friendly beach town just a short walk from the ocean for more than 2 decades, says he'll need help finding another deal like this one.
I've looked from here to Irvine, and the average is around $1,800 a month. I don't make that kind of money anymore.
But California does not have time to worry about you homeless people. They got other priorities. Let's have a look at what their priorities really are.
First time ever, the pride flag is flying above California's capital. Governor Gavin Newsum's office tweeted out this photo showing the pride flag waving in the wind. It flies between 3 flags that always rise above the Capitol: the American flag, the California State Bear flag, and the POW MIA flag that honors prisoners of war and veterans missing in action.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. For generations, California symbolized everything that was fantastic, was great about America. It was the most beautiful place in the world: snow-capped mountains, pristine beaches, lush inland valleys, but it was more than a vacation spot. California supported the biggest middle class in the country. It had an education system, the envy of the world. It had gleaming infrastructure. California was a state that made the American dream a reality. Now, the state of California is known for a very different set of images: needles and feces in the street, a dying middle class, the country's highest poverty rate, policies that prioritize illegal aliens over ailing American citizens. California is still a symbol, but today it's a symbol of everything that has gone wrong with this country. Trace Gallagher joins us tonight with the latest from the once golden state. Trace?
And Tucker, for Governor Gavin Newsum, California is humming along nicely, apparently, and he now says the Republican Party is heading into the waste bin of history. Quoting here, America in 2019 is California in the 1990s. The xenophobia, the nativism, the fear of the other, scapegoating, talking down or past people, the hysteria. And so we're not going to put up with that. We're going to push back. Newsum ended by saying, quote, "What we're doing is working. I think Democrats are winning right now." Apparently somebody forgot to remind the governor that 40% of his state's population lives near poverty, and that having among the highest taxes in the country and cost of living isn't exactly giving them a leg up. And there's this. July 1st, California drivers will pay 6 more cents a gallon for gas taxes. That's on top of the 12 cents last year and on top of already having the highest gas prices in the country. Doesn't appear drivers are winning. Also on July 1st, California begins background checks on customers buying bullets. The cost, $1 for every purchase. The check is meant to quickly return information on restrictions like a felony conviction. And non-California residents can no longer buy ammunition here, period. Finally, a study by homeless advocates say people on Skid Row have less access to bathrooms than Syrian refugees, a problem which is vividly apparent to everyone in LA and San Francisco. But putting in more mobile bathrooms just in Los Angeles would cost $57 million a year. In other words, it's not going to happen. Got to believe the homeless don't feel like they're winning either. Tucker.
What a disaster. Trace Gallagher, thanks a lot for that. Well, California wages war on its own middle class and tries to build men's rooms that cost as much as houses. The governor doesn't see a problem with the state, as you just heard. Tens of thousands of middle-class families have fled and are continuing to flee every year. Meanwhile, Gavin Newsum travels to Central America, telling his citizens his priority is helping people there. As the state disintegrates, Newsum says Donald Trump's version of the Republican Party is what's headed into the waste bin of history. Maybe so, but California is going to get there a lot earlier.